AIG. 3 letters haven't gotten this much attention since Magic Johnson taught the world that it was possible to get fat with HIV. Americans have been outraged by the announcement that executives at the insurer were to receive hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses, despite a $61.7 billion loss in the fourth quarter of 2008. This after the company had received significant bailout funds from the government. When discussing the company's exploitation of gaps in the regulatory system that ultimately led to its collapse, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke commented that, quote, "To nobody's surprise, they made irresponsible bets and took huge losses." A note to the chairman: don't tell people you weren't surprised by this. Act very, very surprised. Otherwise, we're going to think the government knew this was happening and really is evil, and not just ignorant like we've assumed for years. Of course, just saying that awarding bonuses to AIG is bad would be oversimplifying things. Ignoring the reality of contractual obligations, the intricacies of corporate compensation, and that while we know that what the company did was wrong, no one is financially savvy enough to know what actually happened. Well, one guy is, but his wife keeps hanging up the phone when people call. Fortunately, there is a way around the often confusing morass of collateralized debt obligations, securitized tranche bundling, and whether AIG CEO Edward Liddy is either kind of an asshole or completely an asshole. For those seeking answers, all you really need to know can be learned by examining one of the most penetrating studies of the American social and economic landscape created in the last century. I am, of course, referring to 1978's transcendent 4th season of Little House on the Prairie, episodes 87 through 88, the very special 2-parter where Mary goes blind. It's all there. Nels Olson, owner and proprietor of Olson's Mercantile, is an excellent stand-in for Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. Nels is nice enough, but at the end of the day, he just wants to make a buck. He is also completely incapable of reining in his amazingly C-wordy wife Harriet and his slightly less C-wordy but still irritating daughter Nellie, both of whom represent a variety of similarly C-wordy financial institutions, including Bear Stearns, Morgan Stanley, and all hedge funds. And of course, by C-word, I do mean crass, in the vaginal sense. But there are some heroes. Pa Ingalls, he's hardworking and means well, but we all know that no matter how many teams of oxen he gets together, Mary is still going to have to go to that school for the blind. Likewise, President Obama seems to have the nation's best interests at heart. But at the end of the day, he too is going to have to make a trip to another kind of school for the blind. And then there's the loving mother, Caroline Ingalls. Can we see her in Michelle Obama or Nancy Pelosi? Caroline is both caring and attractive, so the answer is clearly no. I know what you're thinking. What about Reverend Alden or Dr. Baker or even Ebenezer Sprague? And who could forget Hans Dorfler or Hannibal Applewood? And Laura. Where's Laura Ingalls? Why, they're us! And since we're all unemployed now, it looks like they must have gotten scarlet fever or got lost in a dust storm or something. Does that take us any closer to understanding the bonuses executives at AIG are getting? Of course not. It's impossible to explain something that didn't make any sense in the first place. It just teaches us that when we're forced out of our homes, it won't be all bad. At least we'll have more time to run through the grass. Gotcha. And that was the news in context.